Hey guys, these are the 3 things that are absolutely ruining your marriage. So many people think that marriage is going to be easy, and if you're married, you know it can be the opposite. In my opinion, I think it's better to prevent things from happening than letting them happen and trying to wrangle the aftermath of everything. So, because you have this knowledge, it's going to be powerful because you could potentially prevent it and not even having to deal with some of these things in the first place if we can just nip it in the bud. The first thing that's ruining your marriage is lack of communication. So, in a relationship, you have to communicate with your spouse over all of the little things that you might not even think are a big deal, but just communication overall can be so incredibly helpful. So many people do not communicate their feelings with their partner, and they end up just shoving it down inside of them until it ends up bottling up, and then you blow up for what seems like no reason at all. You're getting super angry and furious about the dishes that haven't been done, when in reality, it's not the dishes that's the problem. It's something else that you've been, or maybe multiple things that you have been holding in and just bottling up, literally like a pressure cooker, until you just explode. And if you have ever seen The Breakup with Jennifer Aniston and Vince Vaughn, there's a scene on there that is literally a perfect representation of what happens when you bottle things up, and it's about something much deeper than what maybe meets the eye. Truly, I think this is more of an issue for men rather than women, because we often tend to voice our feelings a lot more than men. But it's still something good to be aware of that we do, so we can know and potentially see that we may not be communicating as well as we could, when it could really improve our relationship. Another key component to this is having time alone for yourself to actually figure out what your problem is, because sometimes we are just super irritated with our spouse, or we're just blowing up for no reason and we don't really know why. And so a lot of times those things can have deeper meanings. There's an underlying reason why you're feeling resentful or whatever you're feeling. And it's really important for you yourself to figure out what that is so that you can communicate that with your partner. So things that I like to do for this specifically is to spend time alone with myself, to be able to just sit, think about my thoughts, figure out what I'm actually feeling and why it is that I'm feeling that way. That way I can present it to my partner and have a discussion about it to help both of us and help the relationship overall. Another side note here is it's really important to use statements like I instead of you. So for example, I feel hurt because I feel like you weren't listening to me earlier, instead of you didn't listen to me earlier and now I'm upset with you. The difference there is that it doesn't feel as blameful when you are trying to discuss your feelings, and you're making it more about you instead of your partner potentially feeling attacked when you're saying, you did this, you're the reason that I'm upset, you should have done this, and so on and so forth. When you are communicating these things with your spouse, especially as the wife, it's very important to approach these things gently and preferably when you're not upset. So if something happens and it does make you upset, take some time, cool off, think about it, think about your feelings and why you're feeling the way that you're feeling, and then you can bring it to their attention at a somewhat later time when you've kind of cooled down. And one of the best ways to approach this is with gentleness, because our husbands are so much more willing to listen to us and to actually work with us when they feel like we're on their same team and that we're not coming at them. One thing that really helps me is if I have something big or even small that I want to talk to my husband about, before going to him, praying for wisdom on the words to use, the tone to use, the way I present it, when I present it. All of those things can really, really be a game changer. And also, when you pray, pray for your husband to have an open heart and an open mind to receive what you are saying. Pray for your own heart that when you do bring this up to your husband, that you are not being prideful or trying to change him. Pray for the pride to just be taken completely out of it, because that causes so many issues in and of itself. So just go to God before you bring up something, in particular something larger, but also, of course, anything, right? Like, he wants us to be in prayer with him always in communication, never cease praying. So it's just a good practice really for anything. Something else with communication is, like I said before, just always be in communication with your partner. When you are planning things, if you're texting your friends and you guys are talking about scheduling a dinner date or something like that, before you make the plans, loop your husband into that. Let him know that you are trying to make these dinner plans, because it's very frustrating sometimes when your spouse comes to you and says, hey, we have this on Friday, and it's Tuesday night or whatever. It is just so good and empowering to be a part of the decision making, and it also just shows respect for your partner, that they feel like they also have a say so in what you guys have planned for your life. The second thing that is absolutely wrecking your marriage is lack of intimacy. So this isn't even just sex. This is any type of intimacy at all. Holding hands, kissing, touching, just anything. I think we get so caught up in our day-to-day routines that it's a little kiss on the cheek and like, bye, I'm going to work, right? And it's not, we don't take time anymore to actually spend focusing on our partner like we once did when we were first dating, and it was exciting and it was fun. Now it's just part of our routine. Our partner is just there. Sometimes we take them for granted. But if you can just slow down and think about actually physically touching them, even when you're riding in the car, just hold hands, touch each other. Whenever you can think about it, provide your partner with some intimacy, some physical touch, spending intentional time together, planning dates. One of the things that me and my husband do is we plan at least one date a week. We plan it. Before the week starts, we look at our calendar. Thursdays are our date nights, and we plan something. Sometimes he plans dates, sometimes I plan the dates, but as long as we have something on the schedule, it is an intimate time for us. And that doesn't mean that we have to be going out every single week and spending money on food or whatever on a crazy date. We will sometimes just cook food at home and then take it to go at a picnic, at the park, or even just going on a hike. Something specifically away from the home, I've found is helpful for us, because when you're at home, it's just same old, right? Like, you want to get out of that environment, out of a place, especially as a woman, where you feel like you have to do the laundry, you have to do the dishes, you see all these things that need to be done, so it distracts you from your partner. And the goal here is obviously to be giving your full attention to your partner. If you do not plan your life is going to plan you. So if you don't plan dates, if you and your spouse do not plan dates for one another or for yourselves, guess what? It ain't happening, because it just is what it is. Nobody's gonna do it for you, right? Like, you have to take action over your life and your marriage, and that's part of it. You need intimacy with one another. You need special scheduled time for one another. And if you don't know what to do for date night, obviously Google, baby, YouTube, I love it. Look at there's so many channels specifically about planning dates and just having fun, free dates, low-cost dates. Another thing that I kind of touched on before, I can't really wink, but is touch, physical touch. Just like I said before, anytime you think about it, touch your partner. If you guys are just sitting there on the couch, cuddle up a little bit, get a little close, put your hand on his leg. And also, another thing that's really great to do is to try and kiss intimately before you leave for work or before bed. Just some time when you have a little bit of time together. Just give them that extra few seconds of the day and give them a good old wet smooch with some tongue. It's so important to just have that intimacy and not falling into the same routine day after day, because that gets boring. The third thing that is wrecking your marriage is financial strain and financial issues. Communication here, going back to the first one, is key. Always communication with everything. One of the biggest things you can do to help the finances is sitting down every month, every couple weeks, whatever you want to do, and plan where your finances are going. Budget. Budgeting can sound really boring for some people, but it's something that needs to be done, and especially with both parties, so both people can know, understand, and have a choice in where your money is going. I also recommend reviewing this budget weekly. That way you guys can stay on top of it and know what's going right and what's going wrong in your budgeting. Talk to each other about big purchases, large purchases, purchases over X amount of dollars. Your spouse needs to know. Think about if they went out and spent $500 or $200 or whatever. Think about your partner spending a big lump sum of money that you had no idea about and then finding out about it later. It doesn't feel super great. So it's just good to keep each other looped in, come together and figure out what that X amount will be. And then both of you guys can know, and whenever someone wants to purchase something over said X amount, you guys can communicate that with each other and decide on that together as a couple. Now, this is kind of funny because it's all full circle, right? But if your partner goes and buys something over the X amount that you guys decided on, what do you need to do? This is pop quiz here, okay? Communication. You need to communicate how that made you feel and what you guys can do in the future to prevent that from happening again. Especially with finances, it can be difficult sometimes because we fall into these same patterns and routines. It's everything that we do all the time, right? And so can take some time to get out of those habits. So as long as you guys feel that you are making progress and you're communicating and that both parties are putting in effort, you're just going to feel better overall and respected, that you know that both of you together are working towards the same goal. So that's it, guys. Those are the top 3 leading causes of divorce and how to fix them.